Hey guys. Well, as you saw in the video yesterday, we have, no gatherings over 250 people, stuff like that happening right now. And what I was going to talk about today was viral pathogen Zeds. Um, but since that's hitting a little too close to home right now, I decided that we were going to change it up just a little bit, and instead I'm going to talk about raised, because I had mentioned them in the last video. And actually, as it so happens, Garrett had been asking about the Gunstock War Club, and so raised Gunstock, yeah, it just kind of worked out. So, and yeah, I was a little disappointed with having to leave early yesterday because we'd only been there for a couple hours, and you go through the grounds and everything, and you look everything over, and you pick up a couple of things here and there, stuff like, oh, I want that right now. So we picked up some little fire starters called Firelight, which is from a company down in Calgary, and we picked up coffee. Oh, coffee from Old Smokes Coffee. Smoked fucking coffee, guys. I'll do stuff on that later, because I'm having a cup of it now, but I really want to do these two, because, well, I love maple and the moose is loose, so. But, yeah, so we couldn't do everything we wanted. Got a couple of pictures, some flyers and stuff like that, a little bear safety tag. You know how I feel about zombie bears. But, yeah, so, raised. Alright, so some people were asking me, like I got some DMs and stuff like that, about how this all works when I have to go outside of the province. Because most of the stuff that I've mentioned is in Alberta, right? Well, it's the same thing. The cell phone rings, and I get a location. Now, if it's like Sundry, and I have to find out, well, then I get a location and dust. I get a location, and I gotta kind of scout out what's going on there. Sometimes, apparently, and no, I don't know how they get this information. I assume some sort of either nefarious, sinister, or mystical means. And sinister just means left-handed. So, some left-handed person going, there, that would be sinister. But usually I get the information, and I gotta go there. This case, they had a pinpoint location, so I kind of lucked out. But either way, they gave me a location just outside Dawson's Creek, and so that's not close to Edmonton at all. And it's several hours drive, and you can either go up via Grand Prairie and try and go over the mountains that way. Usually you'd fly, but like flying there, not really fun. Plus, it's really hard to get a lot of equipment. And what they told me over the phone was I was going to have to deal with raised. First time dealing with raised. So I'd read a little bit about them, and typically what raised are literally corpses already dead, not like the Thools had fucked with, the Thule Fools. They're already dead. So this is more your classic Romeros, right? Like, they've been brought back by something, and they're sort of hungry. It kind of seems like they're hungry for life, so they eat people. But with raised, rather than your classic Romeros, it's not a progressive zombie-itis, if you want to call it that. Raised are a limited number. They don't spread, but they don't feel pain. There's very few physical limitations to them. They're not bonies, so like, they're not skells. I prefer calling bonies skells. Skeletons, skells, bonies, bones, whatever. You call them what you want. But because those things are a pain in the ass, but easy to break bones. raised, still have like a physical limitation as if they remember what it was like to be human. Like I said, they seem to crave life, so they tend to eat living things. Like if it's dead meat, they won't go after it. Roadkill, in this particular instance. You know what? We'll tell the story. Anyways, hop in the truck. I had just like 3 or 4 days before this gotten my official license, and you know what's really funny is the official license looks exactly like the fake licenses you can get on Amazon. The only thing is that the number starts off different. So this is a fake one I bought off Amazon. I'm not going to show you the real one because then you got my number. But these are all the same numbers on the fake ones you buy off Amazon. And yeah, so it there's a couple of little things, like there's no ZHA. The logo here is a little bit different, and then the numbers are just a little bit different. But yeah, it's pretty fucking funny that the ones you can buy off Amazon look really, really close to the official ones. So I thought that was kind of funny. So I saw that a few weeks ago and just picked one up. But yeah, I had just gotten my official license, and you get this little sticker, and you just put it on your license plate right next to your registration month, and it's like a little UV sticker, and that's it. That's your official status and stuff like that. So if you have to explain something, you have to speak to an RCMP officer and ask them to bring a UV light, and they shine it on there, and then it gives them a phone number. Which, yeah, it's kind of handy, right? Like, it's slightly less bureaucracy. I still ended up in a little bit of trouble with this one. Dawson's Creek is big enough to have its own little police force, but the RCMP are usually used because it's actually a fairly okay. This location outside of Dawson Creek, the RCMP were in charge because it's a smuggling route. So, yeah. Anyways, hop in the truck, load up, and I had already gotten my official license and everything. But a few days before that, I had started the ZGB Patreon producer stuff, and I had seen them use something that I thought would be great to have, and it kind of fit with my family tradition because I'm Métis, of having one of these. Like, I'm not a Mohican. I am Abenaki, like 12.5%, 1/8 Abenaki. But a war club is part of the tradition. So I had picked up Cold Steel Gunstock War Club. You guys remember the review for it, right? Way back in the day. And ZGB, I was watching them for ideas for this because always carrying around the same stuff, like what can be used. I didn't. There are times, all right, after a couple of times getting covered in zombie blood, I wanted to be able to stay back. Like I said before, having a rifle or a pistol or a shotgun around is not always the way, you know, like it's just too hard to transport them. So if I'm in a location that happens to have them and I can pick one up, okay, great. But, you know, more often than not, I have to use close quarters stuff. And after getting Zed Blood on me, I started watching ZGB and a few of the others. So, but this one was, it seemed like a one-hit wonder. Is it one hit? Ooh, I wonder where the head went. So I just picked it up. Yeah, threw it in the truck, backseat of the truck. Still had my regular tools and stuff like that, sickle, scythe, Imakasa machetes. I had some Cold Steel machetes that I just picked up. It was the Gladius. Didn't come into play in this one. But anyways, I hopped in the truck and I drove to Dawson. And that was not a fun drive. And of course, I don't have like an excuse to speak. I don't have flashing lights or anything like that. I was even thinking of getting some green flashing lights, you know, like zombie green. But most people wouldn't move out of the way for that anyways. And it's not like I can go 180 on the Coke or, you know, on any of the mountain highways. Because fuck me, some of those are scary. Anyways. But yeah, anyways. Several hours in the truck later, many, many Timmies later, I finally get to this little farm outside of Dawson Creek, and there's a cemetery right next to it. Well, some genius, aspiring necro had figured out how to raise. And so, here's the thing. Cemeteries have gates, fences, walls. Low walls, or shabby chain link fences, usually, right? Or cast iron, beautiful, ornate. It's not to keep people out, it's to keep shit in. And I guess this necro hadn't really thought of that. Because usually, people are buried in consecrated ground, or they're buried in, a communal cemetery. Someone has usually done something to that area. So this one was actually fairly straightforward. The necro had fucked right off. Never did find him, but it's not my job to deal with that part of it, really. I could get information and everything, but I figured the sinister ways that H had figured everything out was good enough. They could find this little dumbass again. But yeah, this little farm had a gate, and I guess they were the gatekeepers. I am the keymaster. You're the gatekeeper. Groundskeepers for the cemetery, right? But that meant they had a little gate through it, and you could see all these Zeds just lined up. These raids were just sitting there. Now it was, I think it was a 50-year-old cemetery or something like that, and so there was a number of corpses in there, but it was just locally used. It wasn't Dawson Creek Cemetery. It was this tiny little hamlet outside cemetery. And so it was 20 raised that I really had to deal with. Various states of decay. And like I said, usually when they get to bones, there's not really much strength left to them. Anima. Okay, so anima is this animating life spirit, right? And I had read that this was what was animating them. The anima animates. Linguistics, eh? Anyways, so I guess when they get to the point where they have no flesh left, the feelings of the flesh are kind of gone, so you don't raise skulls. You just raised. So there was one, and it was either the oldest or some nasty shit had happened before it died. And all it had was sort of chunky, goopy flesh, boob, flesh right here, and that was it. That was the only thing. The rest of it was just bones. When you inter someone, the organs usually get taken out and then embalmed and for autopsies. But if you don't see a big ass Y scar on them, then they were embalmed and they were put in. And sometimes they're not embalmed. That's a modern practice. Blah blah blah. History, right? Anyways, yeah. So I get there and there's about 20, 25, including one really, really, really close to being a skull. And they're just standing at the gate to this little farmyard. And there's this relatively old couple. Relatively old. I'm going to say an age, and I'm just going to get shit. That's not old. A retired couple. They're about 65 years old. And I come in, and they're like, what in the hell is going on here? We get a phone call to stay in our house until some dude in a truck pulls up. And I was like, wow, that is the most vague description ever. Hi, I'm the dude in the truck. Have they been doing anything? It's not really my job to investigate, but he goes, no, literally, middle of the night, we start hearing stuff falling over. We figure some vandals are in there. We get up. I grab the shotgun. Wife grabs the flashlight. And we go out here, and we see the dead start rising. And then the phone rings. We didn't even go back. We sat there for 15 minutes trying to figure out what the hell was going on. That phone didn't stop ringing, which is really weird. So we went back inside, picked up the phone, and they said, stay inside until the dude in the truck shows up. I'm like, did they actually say dude? They said a dude. All right, well, I'm the dude, man. They didn't get the joke. Anyways, the dude abided. No, I didn't. Um, I thanked him. I said, go on inside. If the phone rings, pick it up. I'll do my best to take care of this. And that was about it. Now, you would have thought I would have grabbed that guy's shotgun, but seriously, he would not give it up. Like, I don't know if he had blessed it, filled it with rock salt, what, but he would not give his shotgun up. A nice old coach gun, too, like a double barrel. I think it was 20 gauge. It was a gorgeous gun, walnut stock and everything. I took a look at it afterwards, and son of a bitch still wouldn't give it up. Anyways, thinking that this one was going to be perfect, I literally grabbed the Gunstock War Club. I grabbed my fishing vest, because I love my fishing vest. Budget tactical vest. Which I was going to pick up a new one at the Boat and Sportsman show, because mine's starting to rip a little bit after like 12 years of use. No. So, yeah. Anyways, with raised, it's basically the same process. If the Necro's not there, and he's not actively trying to control them, going after him's pointless, right? I don't know if there's like a transmission radius that they have to be within to control them or anything, but I think raised basically just kind of operate on that hunger. So there I was, meat and, life. And when I say that whole roadkill thing, what I had read indicated they might eat fresh kills, and then you could just distract them and whack them on the head, or break their bones and powder them up and set them on fire. Those were the ways that were recommended, right? You break the skull. Apparently chopping the head off might work, might not work. The books weren't really clear on that. But yeah, so it all said, smash the skull, powder them up. And I was kind of wondering why that, but I guess it's the whole, if it feels like a body, it's a body. But if it feels like a bunch of powder on the ground, plus, I mean, what's powder really going to do? Is it going to, like, creep towards you? So, yeah. Or fire. And that was basically, I figure the fire part is get rid of the flesh, and then it stops recognizing it's being flesh. So, okay. So, on the way there, I had found some roadkill. Literally threw it in the back of the truck. Gross, by the way. It was a porcupine that had been run over, and I like porcupines. But flat porcupine, I don't know how old it had been. It stank. Anyways, threw it in. Got goop on me again, but threw it in. Nothing. So, I don't know if it was fresh enough or the books were wrong. But anyways, I threw it in. No attention whatsoever. Fortunately, in this case, with the whole fence line and everything, keeping everything in, all I really had to do was kind of one by one them. Now, where I was, like if you ever see pandas or wolves at a zoo and they're like watching one person and they're all following, that's kind of the way it was. So I was on the other side, and it was kind of like a beautiful wrought iron fence, but it was about 6 feet tall, with little sort of spikes at the top, but the little fleur-de-lis almost style. I don't know what they're called. They kind of look like little arrowheads. They're the ones that you always see some idiot get through their leg when they fall on one of these things. That. Anyways, so I couldn't really whack through it because, well, she's big, and coming down like this, sure, but there's a cross piece, and so what I had to do was either go in there, or I thought I might test this out, and what I did was I opened the little gate that was leading from the farm property to the cemetery. There's no shed or anything like that in there. Like, some cemeteries have like a utility shed. The farmer, a retired guy, I guess he was a retired farmer. I ended up talking with him afterwards. Used to just ride his mower in through this gate, take care of everything, ride out, close the gate, and that was about it. He, if he ever had to go in for a funeral service or a burial or anything like that, he would just go through this gate. So there wasn't really any tombstones or anything like that in there. There was no crypts. Sometimes you can use crypts or tombstones to kind of trip Zeds up if you're in the cemetery. In this case, I just opened the gate, and they kind of came through. Problem was, the gate was big enough that, you could get it was like a little mini backhoe through there. So it was about 8.5-foot gate, and they just kind of two cast iron. I don't know if they're cast iron or wrought iron, but they were iron, probably wrought iron gates. So I just opened one of them. So 4 feet, open hole. I started swinging. The spike end on this you would think would be really awesome for taking care of rays. No, it is not. They got stuck in the first one, and I had to kind of kick and kick and kick. Thankfully, the first one was that really bony fucker. Maybe less flesh made him hungrier. And his head came off his spine, and he just kind of dropped. I guess it's probably destroyed his brain. But then I had to swing the fucking thing with this skull here. And eventually it came off, because, repeated impacts kind of split the skull. It shouldn't be funny, but it really was after the fact. Every once in a while when I'm doing something like that, when I have to clear Zeds or I'm dealing with, you get into the moment of ridiculousness where something is really fucked up and you just can't help but in that situation, you either get a really dumbass grin or you kind of laugh or whatever. Anyways, rays they're about as fast as their muscles can be, so they kind of remember their life. So a 65, 85, 95-year-old, the speeds are going to vary. If they had arthritis in life, they might feel that still after. Yeah. Like I said, a lot of the books, conflicting material, but yeah. Anyways, thankfully, this was for a small community. It was mostly, afterwards, when I checked the graves, it was mostly elderly folk. There was a few, accidents and stuff like that. So it wasn't like I had to deal with runners or anything like that. They were about as fast as shamblers. And, yeah. It was an hour of hard slog, just making sure that every single one of them was done. And, yeah. I got a phone call after I was done that basically told me to just sprinkle salt at that gate, close the gate up, cleanup crew would be by. And then I could hear the farmer's phone ringing, so I went towards the house, and that's where I parked my car anyways, with my truck. I miss that truck. I don't have it anymore. I wish I did. I saw some really nice trailers that I wanted to get more information from at the Boat and Sportsman show. Anyways, went back, put my stuff back in the truck, and usually when it's just covered in gunk, I throw it in a garbage bag, and then I throw it in the back of the truck, and just kind of, I'll hose it down at a car wash or something like that. Easiest thing, truthfully, like, you really have to pay attention to your machetes and stuff so they don't fucking rust. But, yeah, drive through a car wash with what you need cleaned open in your truck bed, and then when you get out of the car wash, then you can clean shit off afterwards. Usually what I do is I drive a little ways away so I'm not just whipping out machetes and shit in the back of a car wash. But yeah, got back to the truck, threw everything in the back, door opens, old man says, "All right, told us what to do. Another dude in the truck." I'm like, "All right, well, I was a dude. See you later, sir." And that's it. I literally drove home. Not really many car washes. And I wasn't going to stop off in Dawson Creek. Literally drove home after about an hour swinging that thing. It's like a 10-hour drive, easy. I think it was actually 14 by the time I was done. And I'd stopped off at a diner up in Grand Prairie. And that was actually first time I'd eaten since then. Found a car wash, drove on through, drove all the way home, slept for a day, full day, really tired. But yeah, I mean, that's sort of how it's handled when I got to go to other provinces. It's a little different by province and where I have to go, but we'll cover that in a few future stories. Um, like when I have to go to First Nations land, usually I have to talk to an elder or chief and council or someone who's you know knowledgeable either about the area or about what's going on, and you know, but we'll cover that in the next one. So, but yeah, with what's going on right now, no travel and stuff like that. But once everything calms down and everything, if you want to come up to Canada, or if you're in Canada and you wanted to travel to some of the other locations, it's perfectly fine. Canada's great, except for the zombies and what's currently going on. But y'all stay safe out there, right? Don't panic. Get yourself Old Smoke's coffee. Available online. Don't worry, I'll do a full review of them because I really want to share it. Really good coffee. And yeah, y'all stay safe out there, and that's about it. Ciao for now, guys.